Geeklife. Show me your moves.
And welcome to Geek Life, right here on the live Twitchverse. We are live with the very first episode. I am your host, The Dodd, and with me today is the lovely Jake the Great. Coming up on this side, actually, is what that is coming up on. Hey, how are you doing today, Jake?
I'm doing well, Dotson. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. And welcome to the very, very first episode of Geek Life, live here on Twitch. For those of you who are unaware, which is probably all of you, we are your source for all the nerdy news you need to know. What do I mean by that? We're talking about TV. We're talking about video games. We're talking about comic books and everything in between. I mean, we're also talking today about video game conspiracy theories. So the whole idea of Geek Life basically came back from a radio show that Jake and I, Bronwyn, and a lot of other people that you'll see throughout the show were a part of. And basically, we all graduated, and years later, we were really striving to get it all back together. So that's exactly what this is. And this is a place for us to sit back, chat, and have a cool conversation, share our thoughts, and we'd love for you to join that conversation too. And to do so, you can always follow or subscribe right there on the bottom. And you can also follow us on each of our pages, because not only that, we both stream and we both are on Twitter. We both stream, we both tweet. I'm Bruce Bane, WRUSE_BANE, and Jake over here is Gonzo Gone Live. This other way.
Hell yeah. Gonzo Gone Live, right up here.
Right there. So that is a good kind of brief 30-minute elevator pitch description for all the things that we're going to be covering today. We have a pretty good structure that we've laid out for this show. Why don't you kind of give them an example of that structure? Go through the rundown with this, Jake, real quick.
Yeah, Dotson, I'd love to. So this is basically each week, we'll also be doing a rundown, but every episode we go through the top headlines from TV, movies, video games, etc., all things pop culture. Like Dotson said, basically all the nerdy news you need to know. And this week in TV, we're going to be kicking it off, talking about all the stuff that's coming to television and Thrones prequels that have been casting, and then the things that are coming to Netflix, which really excited to talk about those. And then in movies, we're going to start off by talking about delays, which I know no one wants to hear about because we're all tired of them. We've all been trapped inside for so long, and we just want more movies and more television, like feed us more. But there's more and more delays, especially for some of the big box office hits, and we're going to be going into that later. And then I think Dotson's going to tell us a little bit about the Avery cut of Suicide Squad. So, if Ayer cut, there we go. Yeah, no. Completely botched that one. So, and then in video games, we're going to be talking about some of the latest releases. Obviously, Dotson got a chance to play Shima, and me on the other end, I got a little chance to play the exact same game, but from Nintendo, called Paper Mario and the Origami King. And so we'll be talking about those and a lot of other things in video game news. And then in other news, we're going to be talking about how Comic-Con and Dragon Con were online this year. Obviously, there's a little bit of a theme right now, considering that we're all still in lockdown, or we should be, stay at home. And then in the deep dives,
the apocalypse.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a little bit of apocalypse, just a little taste. And so then in the deep dive, we're going to be talking about the Ballad of the Snyder Cut. So stay tuned for that one and a little bit of VGC Pokemon. And I'm going to talk about Preacher, Doom Patrol, The Boys, Umbrella Academy, Deadpool. What do all these have in common? We're going to get into that a little later in the show. And then, like Dodd said, we usually wrap things up with a top 10. Not necessarily a top 10 this week. It's just a top list. We like to list things. We're not BuzzFeed, but hey, shit, it works. Look at the research. Look at the numbers. And so we're going to do a top 8 conspiracy theories in video. You're really going to like it because some of these are pretty killer. Yeah.
All right, man.
You
Let's
like
get right into it. I do. They are pretty killer. I enjoy that a lot. right, let's get right into it because we've got so much to talk about today. Starting off with the TV section, one of the first things we got on the list, Game of Thrones is back, which is the prequels have begun casting, and this is coming from comicbook.com. Development continues on HBO's plan to expand on the world of Game of Thrones, the upcoming House of Dragon. According to the EW series, it has entered a crucial stage of early works and has begun casting. At this point, it's unclear which character from George R.R. Martin's world will even appear in the series, with the outlet noting that just because characters are in Martin's book doesn't mean that they will necessarily be in the series or be the same as their book descriptions. The series will focus on the Targaryen family, So expect to see some fresh faces with Daenerys-like hair. This is definitely some interesting news.
Interesting indeed.
Interesting news. The question that I have for you and I guess for the makers of Game of Thrones is there anything that can revive the dumpster fire that was that final season into something that I'm actually interested in paying attention to?
Oh yeah, no, and I think this is something me and you talked about a little bit earlier too, which was just that, like, the universe, it's set up there, and right. I think a lot of people did enjoy the Game of Thrones universe. Obviously, we did. It was one of the most talked about shows at one point, and I think it's honestly like there should be studies done, Dotson, on the last season of Game of Thrones and how it just could completely and utterly destroy people's love for a franchise. And so it's just like, how the fuck do you go from being in everyone's homes, the water cooler event of the week every Monday? Right. You come in, people were like,
it was really the last of the water cooler shows. Because it was one of those last shows that came out episodically that everyone was talking about, that everyone was following along with. And there's really not very many of those shows out there right now. There's some that are following that kind of week by week episodic model. I mean, I know that DC Universe is following that for a lot of the things that they're doing right now. But it was really, to me, felt like the last of one of those shows, and for good reason. Like, everyone knew it even then. It was the last of one of those kind of episodic water cooler shows that you talked about every day that you when you came in to work, and they completely ruined it, man. I mean, like, the ending was so unsatisfying that I'm personally not very interested in seeing what they have next. But they could come out with a cool trailer and maybe pique my interest. Maybe, I don't know.
Definitely. I mean, dude, we're going to be doing Geek Life long after it comes out, hopefully, and so I'll definitely be giving it a watch. If nothing else, to shit on it here live for everyone to enjoy, or to sing its praises if it brings me back in and makes me go, oh wow, I forgot Game of Thrones was a pretty dope idea until D&D got a hold of it, right? I think, is that what they call them on the internet? Some of the most hated directing duo.
I didn't know they had an acronym.
Yeah, no, they do, because it's like David and something, I want to say. And so, like, if you complete hate for the last season of Game of Thrones, I highly suggest the subreddit /freefolk. Oh my god, it's memes are top notch when it comes to taking shits on Game of Thrones.
Well, that's the only kind of memes we want. Top-notch memes. Speaking of memes, and in completely unrelated news to memes, Netflix has announced its lineup for. Well, there's just a lot of new things coming out to Netflix. Jake, work us through some of the things that are coming out to Netflix in this next coming weeks, or in August primarily.
Yeah, the Netflix August schedule has come out, and there is a lot of awesome titles that are on it. And really, like, just to name a few, I know we're in the TV section, but A Knight's Tale is coming. The Addams Family is coming, which is a fucking classic. Being John Malkovich. All of the Jurassic Parks, which I think is something we can all be excited for to see to come to Netflix. And, just to be able to go through and watch all of the Jurassic Parks again, that's going to be a lot of fun. And then that's just some of the big movies that I wanted to name that are coming. But as far as the actual shows, on August 7th, the final installment of Guillermo del Toro's. I always struggle with that one. Excuse me, I'm from Alabama. Tales from Arcadia series will drop. The animated Netflix original follows Troll Hunters and Three Below and picks up pretty much where those shows left off. And there was a ton of fans of Troll Hunters this past year, and so I think this show is actually one that a lot of people's looking forward to, and I know Guillermo or Del Toro. I'm just going to say Del Toro's because that's the easiest way for me to say it. But Del Toro's.
I like hearing you stumble over the name over and over again, but please.
Yeah, I've just loved some of his past work, and so this is something I'm really going to be interested to look into, or to just because I can't pronounce his name doesn't mean I don't really enjoy him as a director.
Of course not.
And so, no, I'm going to be really tuning into that one. But perhaps the biggest get of August is going to be The Legend of Korra, the sequel series to Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, I, like many people, especially during this quarantine, jumped onto Avatar. And, it's something that I never watched on its first run on Nickelodeon. I don't think I was I think when it first came out, I just wasn't into anime at the time. You know what I mean? I had a taste for later. And so I, like most people, dove right into Avatar, and holy shit, am I stoked for Korra, because Avatar.
Avatar that last season was just the entire 3 seasons being coming such a hit over at Netflix. I mean, it was a resurgence when it came back to Netflix and completely revitalized the series. And the fan base that had been there for a long time welcomed all these new fans with open arms, and now it's just meme after meme. Everybody is hooked on the cactus juice. I love to see it. I'm going to be super excited. I'm definitely going to be binging every season of Legend of Korra. I know that right after I finished Avatar, the first thing I wanted to do was dig my teeth into something new in that universe. And I'm really, really glad that there is more content to explore on there.
Well, that's the most phenomenal thing about a great universe, is that it makes you want to learn more about it and explore more into it, and I really wish we could one day get an AMA with some of the heads at Disney, or not Disney, but Nickelodeon, and just say, like, what the hell were you thinking? Like, why did you just let this? Because, we were supposed to get the another book even for Avatar: The Last Airbender, which was essentially the Air book, right? Never got that. But we finally got, the Legend of Korra, which went through production hell. There's a lot of fun things, and I can't get into a lot of, or I can, but I'm not going to get into a lot of them on this episode, because I think we could do an entire podcast on what happened with the Legend of Korra. But the big thing is that all 4 books are coming to Netflix. They'll be here in August, or on August 14th. And a lot of people say it has some of the show's finest villains. And so I'm looking forward to it. But then we also have Umbrella Academy Season 2, which is coming July 31st.
We got even more, man. Like, this is just like a whole little decadent sampler tray of all of these good series coming through here.
Oh, yeah. No, dude, the TV section was actually pretty thick. This was a thick boy this week. And so,
juicy.
But Umbrella Academy Season 2 is coming the 31st of this month. And so while we're in August, we still got some stuff coming in July, bro. And so
the tail end of July. What's left of July?
the very end of July here. But what would you say is one of your most favorite moments from the first season of Umbrella Academy, and what are you looking forward to in Season 2?
Okay, hands down, Umbrella Academy, like Doom Patrol and so many others, the other kind of movies like it, has this own kind of taste, its own kind of that's too like hipster. What am I looking for? They have their own aesthetic and their own vision, a lot like some of the famous directors that I've seen out there. The fight scenes to me were some of my favorites, and their soundtrack with scenes, the combination of those two, I really just loved the pace and the attitude it had, and the tongue-in-cheek kind of attitude that the whole on the whole typical superhero story that Umbrella Academy did have. I think that there are other stuff that have kind of perfected that mold. But Umbrella Academy, I think really, really did break into some uncharted waters as far as creating content that really works in that adult comic book theme.
I think a lot of people are taking chances on the darker side of comics, and I think it's paying off. And that's something I'm going to talk about in the deep dive later, actually. So
yeah. In another twists and turns of news, WandaVision is back on track for 2020 after previously announcing a delay until 2021. And this is coming from itsallmarvel.com. But the Hollywood workers reported that the Hollywood Reporter's Boris Kit reported that the upcoming Disney Plus series WandaVision had been pushed back to spring of 2021. And this was on the 17th of July, but later confirmed Kit issued a correction on the statement and said that Marvel Studios had now pushed the show to come out back on track to December. Now, I don't know if you've kept on track with WandaVision, but basically this is a Marvel story going back and telling the story of the characters. I can't remember Wanda's first name, but she's the Scarlet Witch, and of course Vision, the artificial intelligence character that they created in the Marvel universe. And it's been this like trippy kind of idea on their life and their romance outside of all the Marvel context. Now, it's interesting to me because, you know, when you have a delay like this for a TV production, it's usually because especially in this apocalypse, you know, it's because of the COVID concerns, right?
Yeah.
But
it's because the Rona.
If you're able to still press forward, then that indicates that you've already gotten the filming done that you need done, and the other rest of the idea you'd think that you'd be able to keep things on track. What my question to you, Wesley, is what do you think caused this delay?
Yeah, I mean, dude, there's no telling, especially like we said earlier with COVID going on, like the delays, especially for WandaVision, like there's been a lot of them. And, you know, there's been a lot of crazy stuff going back and forth about this show, too. It's one of those that's, you know, been kind of in production hell for a little while. And so it's really awesome to hear the new news that it's still back on track for 2020.
I'm super stoked to see it. Yeah.
That's one of those things where, like, you know, this is and I need to double check my Disney Plus subscription, but I believe this is supposed to be one of the first Marvel spin-off shows that they're doing, correct? Like kind of like dipping their toes.
One of the first that they've done, but they have announced as well Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki as well. I believe that this is actually going to be the first one to hit out there, but I may be wrong on that. I'd have to look that up.
I think it is. And so I think it's going to be fun to watch, and it's going to be fun to just see where like these little Marvel spinoff shows go, especially, you know, Marvel never really put all their gusto behind Daredevil or Netflix franchises, right? But now that Marvel's actually owned by Disney and Disney is dropping these bad boys, you know, I think the production value is going to definitely be there. You know, we saw that with The Mandalorian. I thought Mando was fucking phenomenal, right? And so I'm super excited for it, man.
I'm excited to see it too, man. I'm super stoked to see, you know, whatever we can get as far as shows in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think that there's always been potential to have Marvel TV shows that exist within the universe, especially when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of opened that door. Like, it still flirted with that line, even though it was something on ABC. So
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. definitely showed it. And, you know, the regular, like, I would say Arrow and Flash and like the success of some of those, even on a low budget side for CW, was basically like, hey, people want more than just in big blockbuster form. Like, if you can give it to them on the small screen, they'll take it. And now we're starting to get super high production value straight from Marvel shows that aren't movies, you know, that we can actually watch episodically almost. And so super excited for it. But in other comic book TV news, The Boys is back, and The Boys are back in September. And
The Boys are back in town in September.
And if you haven't had a chance to watch season 1 of The Boys, which is the Amazon based off a comic book by the same name, The Boys, it's definitely worth a look-see. And it's fun that season 2 comes back in September, and then Amazon's already renewed it for a season 3. And so that lets you know that Amazon is putting everything behind this show in a way, especially early on. They're saying like, hey, you know, like the viewership's there, the hype is there. And so not only are we confident in season 2, we're bringing you another season. Like we're about to start it already.
Right.
And so I love the confidence in that. That's like Game of Thrones level confidence. That's, you know, whenever like you start to go, fuck it. Like we're just keeping this thing rolling, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I love that from this franchise.
Right. No, I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome to see. I'm super stoked to see how the rest of it comes out. The first season was amazing. It really puts that gritty kind of dark look on superheroes. Honestly, I like bad Supermans. You know, I like the kind of evil Superman idea. I like the idea of someone who has all the power and abuses it, because I feel like that's natural, you know, when you have these like godlike super-powered humans.
Well, that's what we were talking about too, even before the show, was essentially that it's, you know, it really strikes a nerve right now with the whole who policed the police, and then The Boys are essentially like who policed the superheroes, right? Which is like kind kind of like how our entertainment all notch, you know what I mean? And so
Exactly.
now you've got like who is actually gonna hold these kind of like heroes, quote unquote, accountable for their actions.
Right.
And dude, season 1 is packed with some actions that need some fucking accountability.
Definitely. Definitely need some
And so,
accountability.
yeah, Caper Doodle, I know, like, yeah, if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. The Boys season 2 is coming in September, and season 3 it'll be here soon, right after. Essentially, it's already renewed.
Right. Right.
And last in TV news, G4 returns.
Yes,
Wow.
this was announced, I believe, just on a couple of different Twitter pages.
Yeah,
The show,
Comic-Con at home.
Comic-Con at Home announced, yes, this was announced at Comic-Con at Home, and then this trailer went live on G4's old Twitter account, Attack of the Show's old Twitter account, and X-Play's old Twitter account, I believe is what it was.
Yep.
And it just, all it had was a TV that flashed G4 and then 2021, which is an absolute dream come true for a generation like you and I who grew up with G4 and were absolutely obsessed with it. I mean, one of the biggest things about G4 was the vacuum of G4 is exactly what created Geeklife. That's what I wanted to do. Once G4 was out of there, I wanted to create a space where we could talk about all of these things because that audience never left. That was clearly when that left, there was clearly an audience still there for that. And I'm just so stoked to see it come back.
I think a lot of us were super sad to see it go, and
Right.
I think, like most of the nerdy news folks that are out there right now, G4 opened in 2002. It broadcast such shows as X-Play, G4TV.com, and Attack of the Show. And it helped launch the careers of Jeff Knightley and Olivia Munn. Obviously, I don't know why they put somebody besides Olivia Munn first in this article, but anyway.
Right, which, as little as Nelly mentioned, give me Olivia Munn back or throw it in the trash, which I agree. I want to see Olivia Munn, but I don't want to throw it in the trash just yet. I mean, to be clear to anyone from the G4 team that could possibly be watching this is my job application. I say that with all the serious. I would love to work for a company like this, and they've built such an amazing brand over the years, and they built such an amazing product that I think that they're really left, and I'm so stoked to see it back. This is probably one of the best news of 2020 is hearing G4 might come back.
Oh, by far one of the best news moments of the year when I heard G4 was coming back because, like I said, it launched so many awesome careers, which, G4, this is our resume. This is the video we made.
Great to see. Actually, we are going to take a quick break before we go. Oh, actually, no, we are not. My bad. We're moving right along into the movie section because we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to movies.
We're going to go straight into movies. There's no delays in the show right now, but there's delays in movies, Dotson. Tell us about that.
There is tons of delays in the movies right now. So right now we've got one of the big ones that's been in limbo forever has been Christopher Nolan's Tennet. I know that you know a little bit more about that, the back and forth with Nolan's Tennet. Can you tell us a little bit more about the kind of back and forth that it's been going through for a little while now?
So Tenet was originally supposed to release, I believe, in July 17th. Yeah, so we were already supposed to have Tenet, and it got pushed back twice, all the way to August 12th, obviously due to concerns over safety with COVID-19 and the current pandemic. Unlike a lot of other movies, and I'm not gonna, I don't want to be like that guy, but unlike a lot of movies that came out, direct to video, where we could just rent them, either on our Xbox or on the internets, right? Christopher Nolan is pretty set to make people go into a movie theater to see this bad boy.
Yeah, he is.
Because
he wants it to happen. He wants the theatrical experience, you know?
Yeah, he wants you to have, and I mean, I get it. I get it. Like, I want to say it's not about money, that it's him as an artist trying to say, like, no, I made this, to kind of be seen on the big screen, and I'm not going to rob you of that kind of a thing, because, dude, once it comes out on straight to DVD or straight to video on demand, that's the word I was looking for, actually. Once it comes straight to video on demand, I don't think there's going back into theaters. You know what I mean? I think like they could probably do it, and there may be some people who come see it, but all the people who are really excited about this are going to go ahead and check it out. So anyway, long story short, Tenet is now delayed indefinitely. And so where this one will finally wind up, we have no idea. And a lot of experts are trying to say that it would be best to release on HBO Max, which I think is honestly, I think that's the move for a lot of these kind of like movies that are in limbo hell kind of right now, is to try to make the move to video on demand or to work out something with the streaming companies. Obviously, streaming's crushing it right now during the pandemic, so why not lean in? But along with Tenet, we also have delays with Spider-Man 3, which now is delayed until December of 2021. And so it got moved essentially 6 months. And I'm being told
now
here
that the starting in a whole nother year.
Yeah. And so now I'm being told, too, that the movie may have another Sinister Six villain aside from Mysterio. The remaining Sinister Six villains, Doc Ock, Electro, Kraven, and Sandman, have yet to appear in the MCU. And Sandman did appear, actually, Cape, in what was that, Spider-Man 3? Which one was that?
Yeah,
it was one of the bad
he did. Ones, right? He was at
wait. But not in the MCU. You are correct. I'm not
in the MCU. Yeah, not in the MCU.
Yep. You got me. You got me.
That's where he's at there. But you also have Sonic 2 is also landing in April 2020 or 2022 date.
Sonic 2, which I think, and this was something we had discussed earlier too. Sonic 1 already got pushed because of the internet. We essentially bullied a movie company into pulling a movie, which I think is pretty strong. That's a victory for the fans, right? But I think
if you saw the abomination that was that original one,
my God, dude,
that's nightmare.
Burn it with fire.
Burn
it with fire. Yeah. And so I'm really happy that we were able to use the internet's powers to get the movie theater or the movie studios, Paramount, to go, hey, we fucked up. Let's redo this bad boy. And I think the final product that came out wasn't half bad. And so I was actually pretty excited whenever it alluded at the very end to a sequel. I thought a sequel is where this really could take off, because now, the kiddos have been indoctrinated into Sonic and they can sell their plushies, which is what they were looking to do. You know what I mean?
From the get-go.
And so now that everybody's like, oh, dope, Sonic, yay, fun. The second one's whenever they could really get into the story. I thought Jim Carrey did a good job. And so it's a bummer to hear that this one's coming out in 2022, because, oh my God, in a year like 2020, that feels like decades from now.
I know that's that's forever. 2022. I mean, hopefully there will still be a world around us.
Yes, exactly.
And the entire apocalypse doesn't take us into a post-apocalypse situation where we.
And then last in the delay news, Avatar 2 got kicked out a whole year, and so this makes this delay to like a whole 2 decades at this point. Exactly, right? Yeah. Like, this is one of the most delayed movies in the history of delayedom. And it's funny that I think he gets to blame it on COVID right now, but
but now he can blame it on COVID.
Yeah, now he can, because it's just been kicked back so many times.
I mean, he basically rewrote Pocahontas in the first one. I guess he's just trying to find another Disney movie to rip off in between them that still makes the storylines work. And, that could be a hard challenge. That could take 20 years to figure out.
Yeah, no, it could. I'm seeing, I guess the original release date was supposed to be December 17th, 2021. And so, it got kicked a whole nother year.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow, that's intense.
And so, but then keeping it rolling in movie news, the Bill and Ted movie will be debuting. Jesus Christ! The third Bill and Ted movie will be debuting simultaneously in theaters and on demand on September 1st. So, Bill and Ted fans rejoice. I
I'm
think this
super
is huge
stoked.
news.
Do you see the actual trailer for this? Because it was an absolute
Yes.
nostalgia fest for me.
Yes.
And
Phenomenal.
I mean, I love seeing Keanu Reeves, even more so now because he's just the internet has made him the internet's
Yeah.
boyfriend, and I definitely went on that emotional journey with the rest of the internet. And not only that, you have the nostalgia from back in the Bill and Ted days to mix in there, and it's still just as wacky. It's still just as fun and crazy. And so I think that this is going to be a really big hit, and it's going to be definitely something that I am super duper stoked to see happen.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
100%, man. It's been a long time, and like you said, Keanu has really popped off recently. He's been everywhere. I'm with long-awaited Cyberpunk 2021 is coming out later this year, and people flipped their shit when Keanu came out and said, "You're beautiful." And
Mhm.
so, like, I think like this is just a new Bill and Ted is what the world needs. And with so many other big, 2020 releases being pushed back to 2021 and even 2022 in some aspects, it's awesome to hear Bill and Ted's going to be coming out, and it's going to be and hopefully in theaters because Keanu really wanted to promise folks that if theaters are open, it'll be in it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we're still concerned about a little bit. Well, no, one of the things that's not a concern right now, and it's still pretty much on track for what its original announcement date is, the New Mutants. The Comic-Con trailer was let out at Comic-Con. People got a good first look at it, and people have been pretty kind of auspicious about the movie's release date, which has remained August 28th. And despite all the speculation, the movie would be getting a video on demand or Disney Plus treatment. The Comic-Con panel announcement was careful to specify that movie is definitely coming to theaters eventually.
Eventually.
So still kind of trying to play the same things that Tenet is playing along.
Yeah.
With they really really want that theatrical release, and they really really want people to experience it in theaters, which is an interesting play. But I'll tell you something, I'm not breaking my COVID circle to go out and see a movie right now.
No.
If it was a movie, I'll tell you one it's not going to be is the New Mutants, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you get a good Joker sequel that makes sense or something, or you get something that's just you give me another Detective Pikachu. Like, I might decide
Might
and
risk it
weigh
all for
whether or not
Detective
COVID is
Pikachu
worth the
2.
risk. I can tell you that it's not New Mutants, and that I don't think that there are many people that are gonna they may love
No.
the New Mutants, but I don't think that they're gonna risk their personal health for it. So I think that this is a bad marketing ploy on their end to kind of stick to their guns on this date.
Yeah, no, I definitely and a lot of people are hoping that it's going to get the Disney Plus treatment, which,
Right.
with Disney moving a lot of things either down kicking them down, like we talked about Avatar earlier. That's a Disney franchise, with them kicking things further and further down the line, with things like Mulan being essentially 100% removed from even the list of Disney movies that are coming out this year. Or even next year, or even in the future. If you didn't know that, you heard it here first. Mulan just kind of got 86th. We may never
Right.
see that live action Mulan movie.
It may never happen.
And so, which it's not something I was beating down the door for, but I would watch it if they threw it on Disney Plus. You know what I mean? And so that's what I think a lot of people are really hoping will happen with New Mutants, man, is that, just throw it on Disney Plus. We'll give you the streams. You can monetize that, just come on. Don't make me risk my life in theaters.
Yeah. So one of the things else that we have on the list here to talk about is basically the controversy, just like the Justice League controversy with the Snyder Cut is kind of repeating itself with the Suicide Squad in the instance of the Ayer Cut. Have you heard anything about the Ayer Cut?
No, because I completely called it the Aver Cut earlier, so obviously not.
After
But
millions of fans got involved in a campaign to release Zack Snyder's version of Justice League, the fandom
yeah,
behind David Ayer's Suicide Squad, I believe that's how you say his name. I hope I'm saying his name right. David Ayer's Suicide Squad is hoping for a similar result. This is coming from comicbook.com. In fact, organizers behind the movement have organized one of the group's biggest events yet, a coordinated effort on Twitter to get a group on the radar of the decision makers at Warner Brother Media. On July 20th, the group is asking for the release the Ayer Cut hashtag on the micro blogging service in hopes of turning it into a worldwide trend. Basically, the idea behind this is that Warner Brothers has been basically neutering the ideas of these directors that they've had on some of these fantastic shows, like Justice League and like Suicide Squad, and so. With the idea behind that, they're trying to get the original idea released out there to the public, and I don't know. I don't know if you could pull a miracle off twice. You know, we're going to talk a little bit about we're going to talk a lot about the Snyder Cut later on in the deep dive segment. But the whole ballad of that, I feel like, is going to be kind of a one of a kind tale. But who knows? This may be, the Snyder Cut may lend way for companies to kind of push for directors to get their full vision truly recognized. And if so, how do you feel about that?
Exactly. I mean, I dig it, and I hope that it can piggyback off of the Snyder Cut. Like, I hope that Snyder's Cut comes out and on HBO Max, and people flock to it, and they say this is what should have came out. This is what was really what should have happened, and really starts to Warner Brothers and whoever at those headquarters is basically like holding some of these creatives a little hostage, like basically making them cut their movies down. Like, I get it. A lot of people don't want to go see a 4-hour long movie, but like Snyder, he basically tried to say, like, you don't know DC fans. Like, if I give them the movie they want to see, they'll sit in that theater, and they'll watch it.
And another question is whether or not he'll be able to redeem Jared Leto's Joker.
Yeah, that's a big thing that I think a lot of people, because Leto has said for years, Leto's really been Letoing on about, or letting on. Anyway, there's something there. I'll keep working on it.
Right.
He's been saying for a long time now that a lot of his scenes got cut and that his Joker got a bad edit, and so it's one of those where, like, it'd be interesting to see if the if the air cut could come out and then at least validate Leto's craziness that he's had, for the past couple years, because then we could all maybe go, you know what, Jared, you're right. Your Joker wasn't that bad. Right. You got a bad edit.
We could know. Yeah, we can actually get a little bit of clarity on there. And I mean, I've said this before, but before Jared Leto's Joker, I kind of felt the idea that, there's every actor that's played the Joker has done such a great job. And I started to think the idea that maybe the Joker is just an easy character to play. I mean, you got to think about it. He's a very eccentric character. It's kind of, what stereotypical is Joker and what stereotypical isn't Joker. And maybe, if you just hire a decent actor, they can throw a dart on the board and end up with a good interpretation of the Joker, because the Joker is just that kind of character. And then I watched Suicide Squad and I was like, oh, no, you can do the Joker bad.
You can fuck up Joker.
You can fuck up Joker. You can clearly do that. So that was, whether or not you can get an Ayer cut released and whether or not I can redeem Jared Leto's Joker is yet to be known. But I don't know if they're going to ever get this Ayer cut. I don't think it's possible.
No, me neither.
The last thing I wanted to cover before we go to a break, though, was The Old Guard cracks Netflix all-time list after 1 week of premiere. Jake, you actually got a chance to check this out. What is the reason for success of this this movie on Netflix?
Yeah, so The Old Guard, and if you hadn't got a chance to check it out, I'm definitely giving it a checker outer, a thumbs up, if you will, a watch it score of a 7 out of 10 is what I think I said, or 7.5 really, and so definitely check it out if you get a chance. But Netflix delivered subscribers The Old Guard just this last week, but the streaming service has revealed that the comic book adaptation has already become one of their most watched films, with these service claiming that it's been seen by over 72 million viewers in its first week. Oh, so in its first 4 weeks. So my bad. But still an impressive feat nonetheless, right? 72 million households in the first 4 weeks. And that's huge, not just for Netflix, but that's huge for comic book movies. That's a good, that's a good, unfortunately, no one on the show has been able to check out The Old Guard's, The Old Guard as a comic book yet, which is something that I'm notorious for, though. After I watch something and I like it and I want to learn more about it, I like to go read more about it. After I watched one episode of Preacher, I ordered every comic a Preacher that had come out on Amazon. And so and this show really, or this movie really left me with that kind of same taste. It definitely set up for a sequel. And so that's something that I'm personally excited about as they continue to go deeper and deeper into, this movie and the universe of these immortals. And, I don't want to give too much away, but, Charlize Theron was amazing in it. She actually did a pretty good job.
She always is, man.
I know.
She actually did a pretty good job.
I know.
She always is, man.
I realized after I said it, I worded that really, really terribly because, like, you know, that snippet makes it seem like she hasn't, you know, fucking crushed it and everything. You know? And so, but no, it's another one. She plays a total badass throughout the entire thing. You know, she's obviously the leader of this ragtag group. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's definitely a movie your normal, you know, middle class white dad will love. You know what I mean? Like it's got a lot of action, and it's good for that. But it's also like it's also a pretty cool universe and a cool story in general. And so definitely check it out. I mean, we're in quarantine. What else are you gonna do?
Nothing. You just gotta keep on binging shows. Well, with that, get everything. Okay, cancel. Whatever. And we're back right here at the Geek Life. We're going to be talking about what's going on in the world of video games right now. We've got tons to talk about, including a ton of new releases this week that I wanted to go through pretty quickly here. Some of the big ones to highlight are going to be Panzer Paladin, came out on July 21st. Crisis Remastered on July 23rd, and this was for, I believe, actually for its first remaster coming to the Switch, because it hadn't gotten over there. But Crisis Remastered has been a top of the line for PCs and has been around for a hot minute. Karen came out on July 23rd. Dying Light Hellraid came out on July 23rd. Roki as well. Wraps it up for came out this past week. But going forward, you have a whole bunch of great ones like Destroy All Humans, Skater XL, Ageless, Yakuza Kiwami 2 comes out on July 30th, and Fairy Tail on July 30th, July 31st for PS4 and Switch. A lot of cool ones to get into, but one of the big ones that I wanted to highlight was the Dying Light Hellraid. Did you ever get a chance to play Dying Light at all, Jake?
I did. I played it for a little bit when it first came out, and then kind of like got bored with it in a way, and fell off. You know.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
I got to play a little bit of it, and I pretty much the same. You know, it's one of those survival horrors that, you know, like once you got past, there wasn't really anything that made it new from all the rest of the survival horrors out there, and you're competing with things like The Last of Us and really compelling storylines that I think that it just kind of fell to the wayside for me personally. But this seems like something that would actually get me back interested in it, and the reason is because Hellraid is actually is once a totally separate game from the developer Techland, but it was put on hold. A few years later, they revived the game as DLC for Dying Light. So you can leave Dying Light city streets behind, and then you basically go into this tower filled with medieval monsters. And as you take runs through the tower, you'll rank up, earn new weapons, and you can bring those weapons back to the main game as well. So instead of your typical post-apocalyptic zombie thing, you could turn it into this medieval, you know, hellscape, hell raid situation, which seems to me like something that would actually be pretty fun and be something that semi-enticing. I mean, I still have the game downloaded. I don't know about you.
I do too. You know, I think it's one of those that I scooped up with the Microsoft kind of like whatever the hell they call it now, where you can play all the games for free. And so for $10 a month or Game Pass. Yeah.
Game Pass, that's what it is, yeah.
And so like you know, I think I picked it up with the Game Pass, and you know, I picked it up, played it a little bit, kind of fell off, and then looking at this with skeletons and a tower style battle system where I'm working my way up and just, you know, like taking on waves and waves of villains, or you know, like kind of like a Nazi zombies kind of a thing in a way, you know. I may give it a play. May give it a playthrough. Just see how it is.
Maybe. But one I know that you're super stoked about that we talked about a little bit earlier was Destroy All Humans remake, which is coming out on July 28th. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Destroy All Humans, a complete new remake, and you know, it's not just a new remake. They're actually going to be adding in a few more new weapons, a few more new areas to the map. They already said that, you know, with this remake, you know, it's not just going to be better graphics. You're actually going to be getting the bang for your $60 buck is what they're trying to tell everyone, right?
There you go.
And so I'm excited for this one. It comes out tomorrow, actually. And so it's definitely something that I don't know if I'll be able to review it completely by next week's stream, but at least by, maybe one of the early August streams, I can get us a good review in. But it's something I'm really looking forward to. The first one came out in the early 2000s and was a smash hit, especially amongst people who enjoyed more open world kind of style games where you just did destruction, very much like a GTA Alien-esque kind of game at a time, where you could just run around and collect samples and all this other craziness. And so it's a game that I'm really looking forward to, and I know a lot of other fans are looking forward to it. And like I said, we'll be covering it in a future episode.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to see it, and I feel like it's a game that is relevant to the time period we're in right now, because sometimes you just want to blow up all your neighbors, and you can do this in a safe, sane, consensual kind of way by putting it in a video game and being an alien and being completely foreign to everything that goes on this planet. So I feel like that's a game that a lot of people can relate to in these trying apocalyptic times.
I think we all feel a little alien-esque right now, and
right?
So and I think this is going to be a great outlet for some pent-up aggression.
Yeah. But speaking of games that have been relevant that we've been talking about, we've actually gotten a chance to play some games that came out this last week. You got a chance to play Mario and the Origami King. I got a chance to play Ghost of Tsushima. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your experiences and first thoughts with Paper Mario and the Origami King?
Yeah, so my first thoughts were this game is heckin' adorable, boys. It is a good one. It's such a cute game, and it's a lot of fun to play, and it's a nostalgia trip. Right off the bat, you're taken back into this Paper Mario kingdom that we all know and love, and its story. I would say the only thing that I've noticed only about 10 hours in. So I'm not going to give it I'm not going to even give it a score at this moment because I don't really have one that I think, would justify it. I haven't played it enough. I like to give it a score when I'm done with it. Actually, I thought about my scoring for this show, and that's how I'm going to do it. And so I can't give it a, too much of a score right now. But what I can say is that there's a lot of dialogue. A little dialogue heavy, especially within the first couple hours. Dialogue's fun though, so take that what you will.
You got a story to tell.
Exactly, but it's a little mouthy. And then the fighting is, they added a layer to it that wasn't there before with this new puzzle game. And I've always been kind of mild on your turn-based games, right? They're like a game of rock paper scissors. Essentially is something that I've talked to you about in the past. And so it's something that while I don't hate them, I'm not a huge fan, but I did love it in the old school Paper Mario games. Right. You collected your buddies, your pals that they went on adventures with you, your comrades, if you will. And they would straight up help you murk, Bowser's baddies as you were trying to go save Princess Peach. But then in this one, you're kind of, so far you're alone, which is something that I also haven't really been too in love with. I'm excited to see if you get some companions.
You don't love being alone?
I don't mind it in the real world as much as I do in video games. I like companions in my games, I always rock a companion. It's just better, if anything, they can hold your junk in an RPG.
Exactly.
And you can sacrifice them in turn-based games, which is what I really did in most Paper Marios. So and so
option as well.
But Paper Mario the Origami King, I'm saying if you are a fan of Paper Mario and the 1,000-Year Door even, and you really are itching to get back into another Paper Mario game, this is gonna scratch that itch. It's gonna be different, and there's gonna be a little bit of stuff to get used to. But then after you really make the hurdle with the first couple of battles, the boss battles are really fun. The first boss battle was fucking bonkers, and it was a good time. And so it's a game that I'm looking forward to giving a full review of later on, but that's my first thoughts.
Well, that's pretty cool, man. I definitely have heard good things about it. It definitely, from all the gameplay that I've seen, looks super trippy and super fun. So definitely looking forward to hearing more about it. For me, on the other hand, I've been playing a game that's pretty much on the opposite end of the spectrum. Very
similar games.
Yeah, very, very similar games here. Ghost of Tsushima is, for those of you who don't know, this is a PS4 exclusive from Sly Cooper and infamous developer Sucker Punch. That was really hard to say. You play as Jin, a samurai looking to liberate his island from Mongol invaders. You do this with a combination of stealth and interface katana combat, and you'll need to switch stances from time to time in order to parry attack and defeat your many enemies. Oh my gosh, is that true? This game, there's two big takeaways I have from Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
It's much more difficult than it looks, and it's fucking gorgeous.
And it looks beautiful.
I probably could have a supercut of how many times I'm playing on stream, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is beautiful. Oh my god, this is beautiful. Oh my god, this is beautiful.
A little short video that's like times Dotson got lost in Ghost of Tsushima. You know,
exactly. I mean, and it like everything just looks like a Japanese woodblock painting. It come to life. You know, it's very, very cool. It's very minimalist. They try to keep as many things off the screen as possible, but it still has all the big good functions of a game, of an RPG game, on a platform like PS4 that we know and love. You're developing your characters, you're growing, and there's got a vast space for you to explore. It's open world. All the kind of mixtures of the good ingredients. So I'd highly recommend anyone checking it out, anyone that has a slight interest in this game, because I came in with this game with absolutely no expectations and really, really enjoyed it. And I think that it would be a game that's going to be like that for other people. But I'm going to be finding out more content about that on my stream. You can watch me stream at Rusbane, WRUSE_BANE. And I'll be streaming more of that later this week. But
no, definitely I'll be looking forward to it, because this game is gorgeous. Like you said, it's a beautiful game. And dude, I've tuned into your stream a little bit yesterday whenever you were doing it, and it looks like a samurai Dark Souls. So, and I believe like someone said in the chat, it's reminds me of Breath of the Wild. And I think that's a really interesting way of describing it. Like, I can see that though a little bit.
Breath of the Wild, it definitely has some good Breath of the Wild vibes for sure. But well, in the sense of that you have this big open landscape that you just want to go look around and explore, and everywhere you go, it's just like, oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Like, because that's what I felt with Breath of the Wild. Like, I would go through there, be like, oh my gosh, this game's gorgeous. Oh my gosh, this game's gorgeous. Oh, this game's gorgeous. And same thing with Ghost of Tsushima. So in that way, I can definitely see the comparisons to Breath of the Wild. But that's what we have to talk about games that have been coming out and just recently came out. But we've got some news about new games coming up in the future, including a new Crash Bandicoot. Tell us a little bit more about that Crash Bandicoot, Jake.
There's a new Crash coming. It's Crash Bandicoot 4, and it's about time. No, literally.
It's about time.
No, literally, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, is chronologically set after the events of the third game, Crash Bandicoot Warped, which, if you don't know, got a little bit time travel crazy. So, despite a slew of main series Crash games that have come out since then, it arrives nearly 12 years later. They went ahead and named it It's About Time, and that makes perfect sense. And so, I know there's a trailer that they dropped for this game, and it got me pumped. It really brought back a lot of old nostalgia. Crash Bandicoot was one of the first games that I ever played. Me and Cape, our producer, had talked about it a little bit. This was one of the first games that he had ever played too. And so it's one of those where like Crash in the early series, and even Crash Bandicoot Racing kind of gave Mario Kart like kind of a little run for its money there, except for Diddy Kong Racing, which, by the way, is the GOAT racing game of all time. And so
Diddy Kong Racing. Oh man, pouring out for Diddy Kong Racing. That was good. That was a lot of fun.
Crash Bandicoot is back, and he's coming back October 2nd. 2020 this year, so no delays here. And I know for one, I'm super excited about it. It was one of my favorite games growing up as a child. I really got back into the Crash Bandicoot franchise recently whenever they released the Insane Trilogy, which, they completely remastered all three of the first games. And I believe since they already had, Crash kind of booted up in the old design machine and then the computers, they said, fuck it, let's give the fans a new one.
Machine.
Yeah. They were like since they already had him in their Photoshops, they were
Photoshops machines.
They were like, let's go ahead and let's just crank out another one real quick. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, I'm thankful that they decided to crank one out.
I mean, hey, it's worth a shot of checking out for sure.
Exactly.
In other interesting news, there was a Nintendo Presents earlier this week, about a week ago today.
Yeah.
It was a small Nintendo Presents, and it wasn't one that was opened up to too many big deals. You had the it reintroduced Rogue Company, which is kind of like this hacker esque first person shooter for the Switch. Which, if you have a first person shooter on the Switch, people are always going to raise eyebrows, you know.
Yeah.
But it looked like it could be something that's interesting. And hey, I've had a lot of time. I've enjoyed a lot of stuff playing on my Switch. Maybe this might be the chance to check out some of that stuff. It also opened up, introduced WWE Battlegrounds, and Shin Megami V were also announced. But the big news that it came out with was information about the Cadence of Hyrule, which is the latest Zelda game that's out there, including a DLC pack. Nintendo, this is coming from Game Informer. A Nintendo partner mini direct happened today. Amongst announcements, that was 3 DLC packs for the Cadence of Hyrule: the Crypt of Necromancing, featuring the Legend of Zelda, Pack 1. So a character pack, which would be available later the day, which was, I believe, the 20th. So that's already available. That's out now. And featuring Impa, Arya, Shadow Link, Shadow Zelda, and the second pack contains the ability to play as Skull Kid, which is one of the very few opportunities that you've ever been able to get a chance to play as Skull Kid. But the game really appeals to a lot of the people that have had a lot of fun with some of the Link's Awakening type games, the kind of handheld Zelda games where you're going through and have that kind of dynamic there.
Which was fun. It's not Breath of the Wild, but it was fun, you know?
Right.
It'll give you that Zelda feel for a little bit, but it's
kind of Zelda-like, right?
It's not Breath of the Wild 2, which is what I think the fans were wanting out of this, you know, kind of Nintendo Direct, and also out of this past week's Comic-Con at home. That was just very disappointing from Nintendo. There was no announcement of Breath of the Wild 2. There was a lot of things that just didn't kind of got glossed over. And, you know, I feel like while, we can all be, we're all looking forward to a new Zelda game with some awesome DLC and playing a Skull Kid. I think we all would have really liked to see Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I can agree with that. But they are working on that, and Breath of the Wild 2 is in the making. So I'm hoping that we can get more information on that soon.
Yeah.
Anyways, in other news, Dragon Con has been announced that there's going to be no Dragon Con in 2020. But instead, it's become free, and it's all going to be online instead, which is something that I am super excited about because I was actually planning on trying to go to Dragon Con this year. And I obviously wasn't going to be able to get the chance with COVID and that situation going on. And as we got closer and closer to Dragon Con, it was a debate on whether or not it was going to happen. And sure enough, we're here, we're about a month away from when it was going to happen. But instead, they're going to be launching Dragon Con through their streaming service, Dragon Con TV, which, for those of you who don't know what Dragon Con TV launched in 2002 as a way to keep everybody at the large ballrooms entertained while they were waiting for panels. And it's grown to be a favorite part for many people that go to Dragon Con. In 2016, they launched a streaming service and a live parade broadcast. So Dragon Con is no stranger to streaming and have many years of content in their archives to work with.
And I think that almost is going to give them a leg up on some of the other cons, that are trying to move to a more streaming and online friendly thing, are with COVID going on.
Yeah, exactly. And they've got a lot of fun. Like I loved Dragon Con TV while I was going through there. It was, a big contemplation of a bunch of like really nerdy skits and shorts that cosplayers would put together over the years. And I think that I'm definitely going to try and check out Dragon Con TV during the week of Dragon Con and see what it's like and kind of experience what the online con experience is. But
see what it's all about.
See what it's all about, kind of check it out. There is still a treat for those who actually did purchase their memberships in the 2020 convention. You could seek a full refund at dragoncon.com through August 1st, or if you do nothing, it will automatically roll over to 2021. So that's really, really good for the people that have already bought their tickets and like, oh, well, I already bought my tickets and like I was ready to go. And then look, hey, your cosplay cosplay can work next year.
I think that's one of the things that I think a lot of people like need to remember during this whole COVID thing is like, and it's not the same for everybody. I know that. I'm not trying to be insensitive, but for most folks, there will be a 2021. And so, like there will be another drag be able to go one day. And like Dotson said, your cosplay will work next year too.
Right. Exactly.
But speaking of cons that have been delayed, or not delayed, but have moved to online, yesterday wrapped up Comic-Con online.
Yeah, there was a lot that went on there.
Yeah,
obviously we covered some of it.
We have covered some of it. One of the things that I think was really interesting, and I actually sent you a clip earlier. I don't know if you got a chance to check it out, but Zack Snyder revealed Henry Cavill in the Snyder cut with the Superman black suit.
Oh, yeah, I have seen some images of that. It looks really, really nice.
And it looks really nice, man. And so that was one of the big ones from Comic-Con at home this weekend. There was so much to hear. Bill and Ted had a trailer dropped. Family Guy spoofed X-Men, Days of Future Past in a nice sketch. We got Rick and Morty season 5 sneak peek that dropped this past weekend.
Wow.
And we also got a nice look at the new Halo Infinite and everything that's going to be going on with Xbox, and a sneak peek of a new Fable game, which I know a lot of people are going to be stoked about.
Wow.
And so the list just kind of goes on and on. Another one, Archer, season 11 is coming in September. We just found that out over this weekend from Comic-Con at home. So there's so much stuff to unpack from this Comic-Con at home, and it's definitely something that I think we're going to be covering in a future show. Yeah. But I really enjoyed the fact that Comic-Con decided, rather than just cancel it, let's actually do, let's work with IGN, which is where you got to watch it all weekend. Let's do our classic announcements that we normally would, but screw the pageantry. Let's just give the people what they want. Give them the trailers. Exactly. Give them the announcements.
Yeah. And that is a big part of the experience. I mean, other big part of the experience is being there and being part of the cosplay and being part of that experience, of course, as well. But that's just impossible to have right now. And this is literally the best we can do. For that.
And I think it worked. I think there was a lot of I didn't have a problem. I literally, while I was working my regular 9 to 5, I was over here. I had the Xbox showcase pulled up on on my TV and just let it kind of play in the background while I was watching some of the announcements. And so I think it worked out really well. I think a lot of people got a lot out of it, and so I'm super excited to see. Hopefully cons coming back next year, but some of them like Dragon Con, I'm hoping to see them live on through streaming this year. So
yeah, I'm definitely psyched to see it, and I think we'll cover a lot more of the Comic-Con stuff in the next show that we've got, because there's just so much to cover here. There's a lot going on here. It's Comic-Con. It's supposed to be a lot, and I'm so excited to dive into it.
Things are still getting announced.
Things are still getting announced. But we're going to kick it out to a quick break. It consists of a little bit more opinionated content, a little bit more stuff that really tries to show Jake and I off a little bit more as far as our personalities. And we're trying to do exactly that with this next little bit of content, which is the idea behind this next bit is that this is content that Jake and I wish that we had gotten the chance to report on in the time period between when Geek Life was off the air and now. One of the stories for me that I felt that I missed the most was the Ballad of the Snyder Cut.
Nice.
The Snyder Cut is let's set the stage here for everybody that doesn't know it. We're back 2015, I believe, is when Batman vs Superman came out. Is it 2015 or 2016?
I believe so.
Somewhere in that ballpark, right? Snyder he had just created Man of Steel, and then he created Batman vs Superman. Batman vs Superman didn't really receive very good criticism, and a lot of that
Martha.
A lot of that time was people talking. They were more or less messed up aggravated about the plot line and a lot of the choices that were made there, and a lot of those things, as well as just the awful direction. There were so many things wrong. I can't even get into everything that was wrong with Batman vs Superman without losing my mind, because in the first 5 minutes of the opening scene, watching Batman just rise from that coffin, I was like,
Yeah.
Just it just seemed so tacky to me. But anyways, beyond that, um, uh, Snyder was kind of giving this like tongue in cheek kind of thing like, hey, this is not exactly what I wanted to do. Like,
Yeah.
this is not exactly the vision I wanted to go with. And we started to think, okay, all right, all right. And he was kind of leading towards making up for it in a culminative Justice League movie where all of these different franchises come together. And that's what the Justice League movie was. Now, Justice League movie is in production. Things are going great. He's getting his big artistic vision. They did some test screenings, and then all of a sudden, during the same period of time, Zack Snyder loses his daughter. His daughter passed away, and it was a very, very traumatic time for him. His daughter passed away very suddenly and very tragically, and it really sent him through a mental loop, understandably so.
Yeah, as would anybody,
and
most of the time.
Right. And the company had already done some test screenings, and it was said that the company used that as a platform to switch directions and thus switch directors.
Yeah. They used it's hard to say they used the death of his daughter to change direction and directors, but it kind of like it looks like instead of postponing the movie, which would have been the decent thing to do, which is just postpone the movie. You know what I mean? Right. Let Snyder have his vision kind of go through. They just chose to get another director, and we all saw how that worked out.
In comes Joss Whedon, and Joss Whedon goes in and he directs a bunch of different reshoots and basically changes the complete direction of the movie. And many of the actors came out and talked about the conflict between the two different visions for the movie, and basically discussed how it was completely neutered from the original direction that Zack Snyder had taken. And of course, when the show came out, it was a lot of hot garbage. I mean, I didn't care about Steppenwolf as a villain. No. The whole thing was kind of lackluster, and just like everyone walked out of that movie going, "Huh, well, yeah. Marvel just does superhero movies better," you know.
When I walked out of The Dark Knight, I went, "I want to go back in. Can I see it again? Run that shit back." When I walked out of the Justice League, I went like, "What the fuck just happened?" And so,
and it was the same feeling that was left all around.
Yeah.
There be conspiracy theory, and that conspiracy theory said that that Zack Snyder had actually finished every bit of his movie, and that there was enough there to create his actual vision. It was Warner Brothers that scrapped it the entire time. So Warner Brothers, of course, eventually, as we know, has caved into the demands and actually shown that, yes, there is that footage, and yes, we are going to bring Snyder's vision to life. Yep. And this is something that the reason I wanted to talk about this so much and talk about it, I wish that we'd been there for like every step of this process. But we're just kind of getting here at the end of the tale. But what a roller coaster of emotions to go through as a fan, and actually getting the original vision out there. And the potential for it. For those of you who don't know, the Snyder Cut is going to be coming to HBO Max in 2021. We don't know exactly when in 2021. I don't think that's been precisely announced, but I know that it's certainly going to. It certainly has piqued my interest, and it's probably going to end up getting me to upgrade my HBO subscription to HBO Max. So.
Oh, no, a lot of people are excited for this one, Dodd. And HBO Max is investing a lot of money into it, too. They've already put millions into Snyder going back and redoing this one. And so I think it's phenomenal. This was one of the first ones to bring up, because when you think about it, we would have not only did we, or would we, I don't even know if we would have been able to do, or if we got to do a first review on Justice League. But now that we have Geeklife.
That came out
exactly
after Geeklife was dead.
And so, like, now that we're back, we can actually review the movie that was supposed to be seen. Exactly. And so I think that's really exciting.
That's going to be fun. That's going to be a lot of fun. One of the things that you wanted to talk about was the evolution of the adult comic book show. What do you mean by the evolution of the adult comic book show?
Yeah, so one of the things I think whenever we first did Geek Life, the only adult kind of based comic book thing that had been out besides Spawn, we had Spawn. we had Blade, where there had been a few other like tasteful hints here and there of some awesomely gory, bloody fuck words being thrown around comic book amazingness. But the only thing that really, had a nice big theatrical, debut in the modern day was Deadpool.
Right.
Deadpool came along and made everyone go, "Oh shit, you can have rated R superhero movies?" Because for years after the Blade kind of years, we got kind of like fed these, besides the Nolan Batman verses, which were darker but still PG-13. They were still clean. You know what I mean? We got several Wolverine movies, all of them PG-13, which is like ridiculous when you think the Punisher, Wolverine, and Deadpool have killed the most people in the comic book world. Like that's like the top three.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so like for them to be given a PG-13 movie it would be like a PG-13 like a Punisher movie, honestly.
Right.
And which is like, what? How do you even do that, right? And so I'm so thankful that Deadpool came out though, because it feels like there's been this lot of adult comic book and graphic novels, if you will, I think is what like there's somebody who like really upset at me right now. They're not comic books, they're graphic novels. And so like I think that's one of the things is that these graphic novels have really had a resurgence within television. And we talked about The Boys earlier. Preacher's one that I loved, and every episode of it is out on Hulu right now. If you have Hulu, definitely give it a look-see, because Preacher was fucking phenomenal. And then Doom Patrol was another one that we had talked about earlier, and it's in that same vein. And the finally the Umbrella Academy. And so like I think there's a ton of shows right now that you can go back and watch, like Preacher, and then even new and upcoming shows like Doom Patrol, the Umbrella Academy, and The Boys season 2, the season 3 that's already been confirmed. It shows that these adult comic book shows and movies are being invested in, which I think is like really awesome for fans of them. And I'm a huge fan. I've loved every bit of it. The Boys quickly became one of my favorite shows. Preacher is on up there with one of the best ones that I've seen in years. AMC did a phenomenal job with Preacher, and Seth Rogen really knocked it out of the park. And so he did so well that he got to dip his toes into The Boys. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but Seth Rogen helped do episodes of The Boys as well.
Oh wow,
And
that
so
is really interesting.
That's why if you liked Preacher, then The Boys, you'll love it. And if you liked The Boys, you'll love Doom Patrol. If you love Doom Patrol, you're gonna love Umbrella Academy. And it's like all of these, like adult comic book shows are only coming now, and I'm so thankful that we have another platform to talk about them again, because they weren't around when we were in college,
And it was to your point, it's completely because of movies like Deadpool, like Wolverine, Logan in particular, that carved the way, that said that there is an audience out there for that are adult only content thing, and there's enough there's money to be made there.
Exactly. And I forgot you actually corrected me with it being called just Logan. They did neuter that one. They could have went so much better. If you've ever read the actual Old Man Logan comic book, oh my God, it's fucking phenomenal.
But it's still based on the same story, so it's rebranding
in a way. But there's not a symbiote T-Rex, and there is a symbiote, and so like there's like all kinds of crazy shit that got cut out of that fucking movie.
Surprising lack of symbiote T-Rexes in there.
Yeah. And so I know, but speaking of things that, like I guess used to be for kids that now adults are just rocking at, you've been playing some VGC from Pokemon, right?
Yes.
Pokemon VGC, not Pokemon VGC from Pokemon.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know.
Winning, son?
Yeah. Basically, for those of you who don't know, Pokemon VGC is Pokemon, the video game championship. And it basically is just a way to determine whether or not you're playing Pokemon VGC, playing the video game, or Pokemon TCG, the trading card game. I think that's, So it's
there's
a way
layers
to kind of
this comp.
Right. There's ways to distinguish between those two. One of the things that I wanted to talk about on this show, and that if I had given the chance, I would have loved to report on Geeklife, emergence of Pokemon VGC. And the reason I want to say that the emergence of Pokemon VGC is that Pokemon has always been around. Pokemon is one of the largest entertainment franchise in the entire world. It dwarfs everything else in comparison because of its large amount to produce on merchandise, and it's incredible amount to sell in video games as well. They have very popular video games, and they have a lot of merchandise they sell. I know because I own at least a full team of Pokemon and stuffed animals that I can see within arm's reach. I have definitely invested some money into this.
You would say
but
you've drank the Pokemon Kool-Aid.
I have drank the Pokemon Kool-Aid for sure. And I did since I was young.
Yeah.
Pokemon Red and Blue were very influential on me, and there's plenty of people that are like that. I mean, you're a Pokemon fan as well. Almost everybody on Geeklife was a Pokemon fan. Or is a Pokemon fan. And
I've played basically every cookie cutter Pokemon that's come out, like every one of them that's, and they've improved every year, in my opinion. A lot of fans may hate them, but I've loved each Pokemon I've ever played.
You're talking about a franchise that is appealing to people with a ton of buying power that are within our age group. High 27-year-old to 30, 40, that demographic. There are people in there that have played Pokemon for a very long time, and they have this big nostalgia factor. And so the irony of the whole situation is that an entertainment franchise like Pokemon doesn't have the esports recognition that you would think would be merited from something that's such a big entertainment icon that's out there. And lo and behold, Pokemon has really been working on that, I feel like, these past couple of years with the emergence of Pokemon VGC. So I want to start off with the Dallas Regionals as a big kind of indicator to how this big kickoff happened. The Dallas Regionals was the first regionals where new Pokemon from Sword and Shield were allowed in. And that was the first time that Pokemon Sword and Shield was being played on a competitive level. That ended up becoming one of the largest VGC events in VGC history, with over 600 events. You have these events that are usually attended with 200 to 300 people, having 600 people there. So already, tripling the size of those events by just one event in Collinsville.
Yeah.
All the regional tournaments afterwards still continued along that same trend. Lo and behold, of course, all of that came to a dead halt when COVID changed the world. The Rona. And a lot of people were really disappointed because they were really getting into the heat of VGC. I know that I was a staunch advocate of it. I listened to Pokemon podcast all the time about what's going on and some of the latest info in the Pokemon franchise and the Pokemon community. And if anyone that pays attention to my stream can know that I'm a Pokemon fanatic and love talking about just the battle mechanics that exist within it.
Pokemon fanatic Dotson.
Pokemon fanatic, and it led to events to just kind of show the trajectory upwards of how the popularity of this has been rising. After COVID, with the kind of shutdown of all personal in-person events, we saw the obviously there's a big vacuum and people wanted to participate and compete, and so streamers A-Drive and Wolfie Glick created the Champions Cup, which was supposed to be a small tournament of about 200 to 300 people, just like an average tournament at the time, and where people could compete from their homes and compete on a big scale tournament and possibly be streamed in front of thousands of people and in front of the audience that A-Drive and Wolfie Glick have.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, everyone logs into Battlefly trying to join on to this tournament or pay their admission fees and join in. And I feel like that's the wrong word, but anyways,
join in,
jump in, join. They bought their ticket. They signed up for the tournament. That's what it is.
Catch them all.
Catch them all.
They signed
tournament, and lo and behold, they actually crashed Battlefly and ended up having to take that tournament. Ended up going from 200 people to 1,500 people.
Wow.
So the sheer mass size of that, I was part of that. I was able to compete in the Champions Cup. I went 4-5. I'm pretty impressed with my first VGC tournament ever.
Yeah.
Not
snaps for
too
Dotson.
bad. I didn't think I was gonna win a single match. But the whole point of what I'm trying to get at is this is really opened up into the possibility of going from something that had no possibility of being an esport to something that, hey, could this actually have the potential to be an esport kind of category? And I'm really excited to see that personally.
No, I think like you brought up a lot of awesome points with the fact that it has such a huge following, and the fact
Yeah.
that it's never been looked at as a esport, or even I think people have slept on the competitiveness that is Pokemon for a long
Yeah.
time. It was one of the first games I ever played where I could beat people at it because we had Game Link with the old Nintendo Game Boy Color,
Right.
and I was one that bought a Game Link because I needed to evolve my favorite Pokemon, which was Gengar, and
Mhm.
so like for me to get my guy, I had a Game Link, and then I would also just like wax a few kids, And I think saying that as an adult now sounds weird, but
It does. It does sound weird. Out of context, that could be really problematic, man.
yeah, exactly. That's the snippets. Am I right, folks? But yeah, no, like
Snippets.
I'm super excited to see the future of Pokemon VGC, and I know like you stream it a lot, so I'm excited to follow along with you and see how you progress in it and how if it ends up eventually becoming some kind of huge esport. I think right now is the ground floor, so
Yeah, it could.
it's still time to get in.
It's got a good possibility, and there'll be a new competitive season starting over in August. So hopefully, I'll get a chance to stream some of that and catch some of those matches. But you've also have on as in topics that you've wanted to cover on Geek Life. A
Yeah.
question that you wanted to ask us, or ask yourself, or ask anybody out there, which is DC Universe. Is it worth it?
Yeah. DC Universe or DCU for short, is it worth it? That's the big question. And I think a lot of comic book fans have wondered this, right? Now, this is a streaming service that would have come, if it would have came out when we first started Geek Life, it would have been an
Right.
automatic buy. It would have been
Mhm.
just, like, I got to get it for Geek Life. I got to get
Sign
it
me up.
to, like so I can review the shows, everything like that, right? But oh my God, man. Did DC knock it out of the park with some of its original content? I could do an entire hour long show about the Harley Quinn show alone, telling
Right.
people about how fucking amazing that show is. I could add another 30 to 45 on top of it just talking about Doom Patrol. Because
Exactly.
that's like two of my favorite shows of the past, I would almost say 2019, 2020 years so far, right? Has been Harley Quinn and Doom Patrol. I fell in love with both of those shows immediately, and I think the future of the streaming content on DCU revolves around us tuning in each week. And so I've really enjoyed everything that they've had to offer along with the comics even. But one of the things that's been interesting, and I noticed it this past season, is that season 2 of Doom Patrol streams simultaneously on HBO Max and on DC Universe, which
Yeah,
is leading many people, including myself, to theorize that DCU may be on its last legs. And
I
so
think so too.
that's the only bad part about like this, me saying it's worth it, because I completely believe it is, especially for the programming they have at the time as of this recording, right?
Right.
But like at the end of the day, I don't know what the future may hold for it, and I'm hoping though that it's HBO Max. Doom Patrol being as amazing as it is, I think it's already starting to find new fans at the home at HBO Max, and HBO owns Warner Brothers, or there's some kind of weird things going there, and so hopefully Harley Quinn will find its way over to HBO Max as well. Swamp Thing is actually about to raise from the dead, and I believe it's going to find its new home at HBO Max as well.
You know what?
And
You know
so,
what's interesting to me? I've found DC Universe as of right now much more worth it to me than
yeah,
Disney Plus.
I would say I would agree. Yeah,
You
I
know?
would agree with that, because there's just so not only just the shows, the originals, but also the animated content. I watched Superman Red Sun about a week ago, and it was phenomenal. It was a great movie. DC animation team knocked it out of the park again. And so it's just one of those where, like, if DCU is on its last legs, I hope it finds some footing at HBO Max, and I hope they continue to pick up the content. And then my other question is, could DCU be worth it if it was just comic books? Would you pay to read comic books unlimited, like especially on your tablets? And so
Yeah.
how do you feel about that?
I
Would you pay
to
for just
me
a comic streaming service in a way? Like, or do you read enough to necessitate it?
to me it's hard because one of the biggest things I like about comic books is going to the comic book store and buying those comic books and feeling them in my hand, and it's kind of the tangible
Smelling them.
aspect of it. is the part of the appeal. Now, the access to all the different kinds of stories without having to go to the store and buy it, of
Yeah.
course, that does definitely has some appeal to it. How much would I pay for a service like that? Basically, my answer is yes, but it have to be cheap.
It have to
You
be
know,
cheap. Yeah,
it have
they
to
would
be
have to
cheap.
lower the price of what they have right now, which I believe is $10 a month. And I don't think that's like outrageous, but whenever you consider that that's the same as like Netflix and a lot of other things,
Right.
it's that's a little bit of a grip for a reading service, if you will, right? And so,
Right.
while I have thoroughly enjoyed The Batman Who Laughs and reading through Doomsday Clock, both of those are great comics that I can suggest right now. That I am excited to continue to finish up. I don't know if the service itself will be worth it alone. So that's my final takeaways on the DC universe. Hopefully, it lives on forever.
Yeah,
Fingers crossed.
I think we could see it transition over to HBO, and I think that some of that content will do well there. I think it would be a good transition for it.
Yeah.
And speaking of good transitions, this isn't one of them. We're about to move into our top 8 video game conspiracy theories of all time. And for a little bit of backstory on kind of the reason why we're talking about this right now is conspiracy theories seem to be afloat pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
Not only is bullshit like QAnon really fucking popular out there for some reason, but you have things that seems like they should be conspiracy theories coming true. And in a world full of conspiracy theories, we thought, hey, we might as well bring you some fun, entertaining ones at it. So strap on your tinfoil hats because we're about to make QAnon look like Gossip Girl with some of these video game conspiracy theories.
Nice.
I'm going to start us right off. Number 1 on our list is a couple of Pokemon conspiracy theories. The Great War and the Lavender Town suicides. The Great War is a Pokemon conspiracy theory that basically says that there was a great war that existed before the events of the first Pokemon games, Pokemon Red and Blue. Mm-hmm. The basic reason behind this idea is a lack of male characters around fighting age would suggest a world recovering from a global war. Also, the mention of Lieutenant Surge, who mentions a great war in a lot of the things that he does. There's hardly very many male figures at all in this series. Both of the protagonist and the antagonist, your rival, are orphans. Yeah. Raised by their mom, and who also feel that they are, well enough on their own to be able to go out and experience the world. So there is a conspiracy theory that there's actually a great war that happened right before the events of Red and Blue.
Checks out. No one has a dad for some reason.
No one has a dad. And it leads over to the anime as well, because Ash has always been a fatherless character and never really explained why that's a fatherless
never went
character.
Into it. Yeah.
So that's a really interesting perspective on there. And there's not a real explanation for those things. Maybe it was indeed a great war. But this next Pokemon conspiracy theory is a little bit less based on, just kind of things within the Pokemon lore and actually based off of rumors or reports of incidents that happened involving the beta version of Pokemon Red and Blue, the same games. There was mysterious reports that around the time of the release of the beta version of Red and Blue, there was a mysterious string of suicides linked to people playing the game. The coincidental moment that connected all of these events together was in each of the cases, they had all just reached Lavender Town in their game. Some of them even died with the in the town on the map with the background music playing when they were found. Now, the idea behind it was that the background music was actually convincing the kids to commit suicide, and because of that, they changed the audio in the alpha version that got released to the public in Japan, and obviously the alpha version that got released to the U.S. But crazy to possibly think that the ghost Pokemon in Lavender Town might possibly be some 6-year-old kids playing the beta version of Red and Blue.
No, it's insane to think that there's I've always been into those weird conspiracy theories about like a certain note or a certain sound or a certain like, phrase that could, MK Ultra a person where they just like kind of like snap out of it or like, something weird happens. And so, like that kind of shit's always been right up my alley. And so it's interesting to hear a Pokemon based one. And like definitely sad. Hope there's not a lot of like definitely any truth to it as far as like kids just being found dead with Pokemon in their hands. But
right, let's hope it's all horse shit, right?
But with Pokemon being as widely popular as it is, you have to think at least one person has probably committed suicide with the Lavender Town theme going on behind them. So like,
right.
we're billions of people in the world. So
it's
like,
in the realm of possibility.
It's in the realm. Yeah,
it's absolutely within the realm of possibility. And not only that, like,
but it's freaky. Definitely.
Yeah,
freaky.
it is. It's definitely freaky. Definitely freaky. And other news about potentially freaky games, creepy. Have you ever heard of the game called Kill Switch?
No, I have not.
This is number 2 on the list. Kill Switch is the self-deleting game. Kill Switch is an early adventure horror, which you played as either Porto or Gast, an invisible ghost. No one has ever completed with Gast, and it's nearly impossible to who's nearly impossible to play as because he's invisible. You can only see Gast. Yeah, he's a ghost. He's completely invisible to the player too, as well, and it can be pretty hard to traverse. Through many parts.
I could see where it would be hard to play a video game when I couldn't even see my own character. Yeah, I could see that being a challenge.
Right. So you traveled through the inner walls of this mine that, here, I'll read this basic description. Given that Kill Switch is a game about demons rising to wipe out a mine for its policies of basically torturing workers to increase output, the basic idea that they had behind it was that Porto was actually an employee at the mine, and you go through and you kind of get all these tips and tricks about all the things that happened to the people that worked at the mine, and it seems to indicate that they were tortured by demons. But given that Kill Switch is a game about demons rising to wipe out a mine for its policies of brutally torturing workers to increase output, some have drawn connections to Soviet industrial practices. And it's probably safe to assume that the Karvana Corporation is named after Karvana, the Czech Republic town known for its coal mining.
Interesting.
The Karvana Corporation is the corporation the warehouse that they explore in the actual game. But the most interesting aspect about this game was that the game deletes itself upon completion. So you're talking about the Banksy portrait of video games here. Kill Switch, because of this, and because of the fact that there's only 55,000 copies made, it's made this incredibly rare. Can you imagine a self-deleting game?
I was gonna say. I mean, I'm wearing a Supreme headband. We're talking about, hype beast this would be the most hype beast game of all time. Like if a game dropped today and it deleted itself every time you died in the game and you could never play it again.
No. Not every time you died in the game. Once you completed the game, once you finished the game,
once you beat the game, you can just
no
never
longer
play it
replayable.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude, I think that's brilliant. And it's something that's like such a it's an experience based thing, which I think is something like I don't want to be that millennial, but like like our generation loves experiences.
Exactly.
And so like
and that's exactly what the corporation that made it came out as. They wanted Kill Switch to be a game that was an experience that and just like real experiences, you could only play it once.
Yeah.
But because of
you only get to go to that Bonnaroo one time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you may go to Bonnaroo like every year, but like,
And when it says self-deleting, it's not just deleting it off of your computer or anything else like that. The game like no longer is functional.
No longer works. Yeah.
So you can't play it and then give it to someone else and have them play it. No, the copy is done. And because of that, it's made the game incredibly rare. In fact, the last shrink wrap copy of the game sold for $733,000 back in 2005.
Wow.
That's
a pretty penny.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for a game. The owner planned to play the game and record his progress on the game to kind of show people, because so many people hadn't seen this game before. It's been a very elusive game, but supposedly he never did. Supposedly the account that it was supposed to record the site only posted one video. It's about like a minute and 30 seconds long, and you can see him looking at the game over the corner of your shoulders, corner of his shoulder, and you can hear him softly sobbing. So creepy.
That's a
shit,
very super creepy shit. I mean, do you think you could have made back your $700,000 off of a YouTube video of you speedrunning that bad boy? You know what I mean? Like, do you really think you could have ever got that? And 700,000. Think about that. That's almost $1 million for something
maybe
after
that
you
video
beat it.
was just him crying after he realized that he got home and just spent $700.
I think that may be what it is.
I think that's going to delete itself.
I think the guy like booted it up and then realized like, oh, what? This is actually a game that's going to delete itself. I'm fucked. You know, like this was a terrible decision. And so like, but then again, I mean, shit, dude, if you got it like that, then you got it like that. Nick Cage paid what, like $1 million for like the first Superman comic book. So
yeah, you never know. You never know. Well, we got more on our countdown. Number 3 on our list here is Berserk, the killer game. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Berserk?
Yeah, number 3 on the countdown today in video game conspiracy theories is Berserk, the killer game. The Berserk arcade cabinet is a fascinating piece of video game history. It's one of the first video games to use synthesis, which is an insanely expensive process back in 1980. It was really interesting to read about this one, Dodd, because in fact, it estimates that Berserker's 30-word vocabulary costs $1,500 a word to produce.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Think about that. That's over $1,000 per word in a video game. And like I said earlier, if Paper Mario would have been built this way, it would have been $100 million to make that fucking game. And so like, but that's not the most interesting thing about Berserk. Perhaps the most interesting thing about Berserk is that it is infamously known as the first arcade game to be tied to multiple players' deaths. And so urban legends are bound to spring up from circumstances like this, and it has been said that Berserk has killed 3 people at Friar Tuck's Game Room Arcade in Clement City, Illinois. The scary thing is that at least 2 of these deaths actually happened. And so we have it confirmed. So Berserk is a real game that you can go play, you know, in an arcade if they still have it up right now. Obviously, there's been some negative PR given that 3 people who have played it and have actually put their names into the cabinet have died. And so there's probably thousands of other people who have played this game and that still lived. But at the same time, like, it makes for an interesting story that just for this particular one, the multiple players have just wound up dead, right?
Yeah, and I heard that they had a really weird high score situations.
Yeah. Jeff Daly, who allegedly had entered his initials twice in Berserk's machine, was one of the top 10 players actually. Put his name in there right before dying of a heart attack. And the weird detail about his score is that it is 16,666. And if you were to remove the binary numbers of 1 and 0, you get 666.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Shit.
And so reports are conflicted about this, though, as it's been claimed that Daly had been with friends Peter Burkowski before his death. And so there, you know, there's a little bit of like some things, which that was death number 2, by the way, Peter Burkowski. And so there's a little bit of a kind of like, oh, maybe it's just the small town, you know, like some guys who played the same arcade wound up dead. One had a heart attack, you know, but like, it's just very, very interesting that 3 people who had put in their names in the top 10 of this video game have wound up dead in this one town. So, and that's actually going to take me, speaking of codes and transitions, right into number 4, Fallout 3 Morse codes predictions. And so in Fallout 3,
really interesting.
In Fallout 3, there is a Galaxy News radio that is hosted by 3Dog. This radio station can be heard throughout the game via your Pip-Boy, which I've always wanted a Pip-Boy. Those things are so fucking awesome. And a string of other quests attached to it. Should you kill 3Dog during one of the quests, which, you know, unless you're one of those Fallout players, never do that, guys. Come on, the NPCs, they're your friends. And so, should you kill 3Dog during one of the main quest lines, his assistant Margaret takes over for him. However, to unlock the codes, you have to skip the Galaxy Radio quest and go destroy Raven Rock. Once this is done, the radio station will occasionally turn into a number station. This number station is where our theory kind of begins, right? Mm-hmm. So with a very sad voice, you hear the numbers 12552821010. What are you talking about?
Sad voice.
What are you talking about? You'll be missed. And so you hear that sound, and then you realize that the actual numbers that they list off is the recent death of Gary Coleman. Like, what are you talking about, Willis?
That makes sense. Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. And then clearly you realize that the numbers are also the date and time of his death.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, this is all, I believe a Reddit user was going in and deciphering some of the, different codes that this radio station would give you. And so one of them led him straight to Gary Coleman's death. The next message he read shook him even more and pushed him to enlist the aids of others to decipher the codes. The message was 945-420-010. Accident in the Gulf, several dead. Oil spill apparently averted. Okay. Now, this one took a little bit of digging, but then he realized that this was the date and time of the BP oil explosion. And so, but then it was the enormous day one assessment that the well was not leaking. And so anyway, long story short, it looks as if this Fallout radio station has made multiple in-world predictions. And they've come true, and they had already came true in a way, right? And so there's no real explanation to these. Fallout and some other people have said this is kind of just happenstance or like, oh no, whatever. But I don't know. I've got my tinfoil hat on as you advise me, so.
Yeah, no, I mean, I want to see what Fallout can read for the rest of the tea leaves for the rest of 2020. Like, if there's some Fallout codes that they've got and any of them ended 2020, I think we need to get an update on what that information is as quickly as possible.
I'm gonna definitely put some hours into Fallout 76 and see if I can
see if they can predict the future.
Yeah, see if there's anything I can find out.
Well, future predicting codes in Fallout 3 is crazy, but not as crazy, in my opinion, as the very real-world implications of number 5 on our countdown, which is Saddam Hussein stockpiling PlayStation 2 chips in order to build missiles. And this is something that has a lot of basis in reality. And the reason for it is the early 2000s, the PlayStation 2 was a revolutionary piece of tech, and it caused a lot of different national security concerns. For about the concerns about how the console could potentially be weaponized actually it hindered it from the get-go from Japan shipping out, from PlayStation's shipping out of Japan. The basic power of the idea is that the emotion engine of the CPU, which built for single purposes, polishing polygons for 3D gamings. The company's initial tech demo showed them reimagining things from Final Fantasy and demonstrated a level of detail that they had never seen before. But the biggest thing about pushing those polygons is that they had the potential military applications that they could be used to because they could be used to track things in three-dimensional space, and it could be potentially used as a missile guidance system.
Wow. Which is insane to think that the PlayStation 2's tech that built it could also be used to functionally be used as a missile guided system. Right. To help build a missile guided system, I guess I should say.
Yeah, and for the bulk price of $376, it was actually a lot cheaper than probably a lot of the missile guidance systems that they were looking at the time. But
no missiles, comrade. Just PlayStation.
The idea is that in December of 2000, fears grew that leader Saddam Hussein had actually found a loophole in the embargo that and was planning to string together 10 to 20 of these consoles to create a supercomputer powerful enough to guide missile systems. And this led to some of the concerns that actually caused us to investigate the security concerns that were going on in the Middle East at the time. So crazy to think
No, that one is
that Saddam could have potentially stockpiled PS2s to build weapons of war.
it's insane to think that the WMDs or whatever that we invaded Iraq for could have been PlayStations. And so like
Yeah.
that's pretty wild. But it's insane also that those PlayStations could have been used to make missile guidance systems. So
Right. Very,
wow.
very insane. Now, it is pretty insane, but not
But
as insane as some of the ideas surrounding number 6 on the countdown, Polybus. Tell
yeah.
us a little bit about Polybus.
So number 6 on our countdown, Polybus also has this air of like, Men in Black, Secret Services, CIA, like who are these people kind of a thing, that are like running these studies, right? But like
Right.
the game, a black box with no name that involved geometric patterns and colorful shapes, was instantly addictive, hypnotic, and in some cases dangerous. Ernest Cline recalls hearing about Polybus as a whisper across the arcade game floor as a teenager in Central Ohio. Today, Cline is the author and screenwriter of the video game dystopian bestsellers Ready Player One and Armada, which both are being given a
highly successful.
Yeah, like huge franchises, and with Ready Player One getting a Spielberg treatment. I believe a lot of people saw that movie. Obviously, we didn't get to review it on Geek Life because it came out post college. But yeah, no, dude, it was a great little nod to a lot of pop culture references galore. Jesus,
all over the place. Like,
but yeah, in an interview, the director or Klein cites Polybus as an influence of his work. So these few publicly staged arcade machines were said to have been visited periodically by Men in Black for purposes of data mining the machines and analyzing these effects. Eventually, all of these Polybus arcade machines allegedly disappeared from the arcade market. And so that's the real kicker about Polybus, is that there are people who claim to have played it, remember it. There's even people who say that it caused epilepsy. And it was something that, they had actually heard about people playing this game and passing out because they were having seizures. And so there's multiple accounts of this game being a real thing. But the thing is that you can't find any of them today. And so that's what makes it a real juicy conspiracy theory, is that there's even the Wikipedia says the alleged game Polybus. And so even Wikipedia tries to worm its way out of giving that it's confirmed this game was real. But, I like to base my news off of secondhand accounts from people that are trying to remember things from 1980. And so
anytime you get the Men in Black involved in anything, man, it's just going to be something that's just absolutely crazy to see unfold. And
exactly. But no, so Polybus pretty insane, and hopefully we'll never see the Men in Black just reading our data on arcade games anymore, because now they just buy it from private companies.
Yeah, after playing a trippy basic acid trip of a game.
Now you don't play acid trip video games. Now you just take Facebook surveys, and those sell your data to the government.
Right. There's much more effective ways of doing this.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, number 7 on our list, not as crazy, but pretty insane how close it came. Madden rigged the 2015 Super Bowl. Now, this is and then I have a sub note for the Madden curse that I'll get into as well. But this one's actually pretty insane. In the Madden simulation of the 2015 Super Bowl, the Seahawks led 24-14 in the third quarter following a Marshawn Lynch touchdown, but the Patriots dug deep and come storming back to a 28-24 win. Now, if that sounds familiar, in the real Super Bowl, the Seahawks led 24-14 in the third quarter after a Doug Baldwin touchdown. So rather than Marshawn Lynch, Skittles didn't get the TD. It was actually Baldwin. But the Patriots still came back to win 28-24. And so the final score ended up being the exact same. And in both games, the simulated game and in the real one, Tom Brady threw for 4 touchdowns and won the Super Bowl MVP. And so this has been one of the most strikingly similar, or the closest Madden's ever gotten to predicting the Super Bowl. And a lot of people think, what come first? Did Madden predict the Super Bowl, or did the Super Bowl just happen to play out? What's
did the Super Bowl predict Madden in the past?
Yeah. Or did Madden make that happen? Is Madden
Did
Is
Madden
Madden God?
will that into the universe? You know,
And so there's a lot of conspiracy theories around here. Those last few were just mine that I just made up, so they're not as founded. But I believe, Madden.
But the Madden curse is something of note to mention as well. I mean, that's the big one you hear when you hear conspiracy theories around Madden, which is you explain the Madden curse for those who don't know.
Yeah, whenever the Madden curse is essentially like every player who's graced the cover of Madden, and not every player, but a large majority of them have been injured or hurt pretty badly the following season after gracing the cover. And so the real big conspiracy theory, or not really conspiracy theory, but a big thing that's just always been around Madden is this curse and the fact that, there's been athletes who have actually, I think actively refused to be on the cover at some points because, they've actually sports is a very superstitious, thing. There's people. I'm an Alabama fan. I think a lot of people here on the cast are because most of us graduated from it. But I know people who won't even wear the same shirt after Alabama loses one Saturday. And so, you got to think about things like the Madden curse. If you tell a quarterback that just won a Super Bowl, hey, you want to be on the cover of Madden, and he's looking to win another Super Bowl, he may not want to be. And so
you don't know.
The Madden curse is something that's been alive and well for a very long time. Luckily, last season, Pat Mahomes was able to break the curse for the first season. He had a very good, healthy year throughout it, and we'll see how it works out for Lamar Jackson in this upcoming season.
That's bad juju, man. But hey, people have been able to break it. So, if the curse can be broken, let's see what their secrets are. Are they walking backwards out the front door, or, putting garlic in their shoes. I don't know, something.
Our high school quarterback wouldn't shake people's hands with his right hand on game day. He would do left-handed fist pumps and elbows and stuff like that because his right hand he wouldn't touch anybody else because he said they could he felt like they could give him bad energies.
Yeah, it's true
and
though.
So
I've felt that. I've definitely felt that.
He wouldn't fuck with them on game day. Yeah.
Right.
But you've got our last one.
When you get when you get a limp high five, I can feel that when you transfer the bad energy.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Dude, did you just make me depressed with that high five? Anyway.
Right. Okay, we have one more conspiracy theory on this list, and I don't think it's much of a conspiracy theory. I think the truth has been staring us in front of the face the entire time.
This one's pretty convincing,
Jake, and we've just been denying it. Which is that Mario, the gaming icon that is Mario, is a communist. Yes, that's right, Comrade Mario. There's a lot behind the idea of why people believe that Mario is strictly nothing other than communist propaganda, and there's actually a lot to back this up. First off, you could take a lot of the visual similarities that there are there. This picture highlights a lot of it, but he obviously looks a lot like Stalin. And Stalin's hat even looks a lot like Mario's hat.
Comrade Mario.
Right. There's the undeniable connection that is the colors. Mario's color has always been red, and communism has always been associated with the color red. There is, of course... his mustache obviously is a huge coup de grace place. I mean, it's a pretty signature mustache, right? It's a pretty signature look all around. But
it is Stalin-esque.
It is Stalin-esque, and you can look at the red star that he erects amongst the castle after taking down the green flag outside of it. Obviously, Mario is a working man, and his assault has always clashed with the Mushroom Kingdom, much like the Communist Revolution was a clash with the monarchy that existed before it. In fact, Bowser is a moniker for the Tsar and the oppressive monarchy that the communists were trying to liberate themselves from. Bowser. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
Not only that, you even have characters like Wario who represent the antithesis of capitalist greed. I mean, like he like if there was a demonic caricature for what America is, Wario is it. It's this big, pompous, chonky, just gluttonous character that's only obsessed with gorging himself and getting as much money as possible. I mean, that is the greedy capitalist.
But at the same time so envious of like the working man, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, which is what Wario always is. He has this whole world that's his own, all these riches, all that other bullshit, and he still for some reason is trying to fuck with Mario, and it's like, come on.
Always trying to fuck with Mario, but Comrade Mario stands strong, and this truth has been staring us in front of the face, man. I mean, I think that there's a lot to this this one, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to put it at the end here, because is it a conspiracy theory, or is this actually something subtle that you think could have been implemented a long time ago, that someone was kind of like they'll never know?
Yeah, like, I mean, dude, it's one of those where like you kind of want to think that the game developers maybe have taken something like just a little, like, a little Mario guy and like made it into what they really wanted to see, which was communist propaganda
right.
further down the road, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if he started that way, but there's definitely a lot of like there's some striking things. Like, I even got to thinking about how like he uses pipes, and the pipes are like could be a symbolization for like something like most of our waterworks are basically public works, right? And so it's like these were huge acts of socialism in a way, if you really wanted to push, like look at it, like plumbing, if which, come on, like I don't want to get on that rabbit hole, but plumbing essentially socialism.
Once in the fire flower costume, it's like that's like communist Mario 100%. Like that's just doubling down on the whole thing.
But no, like I think you definitely opened some eyes today.
I know, man. Now you've been exposed to the truth. Now. But
we can put Alex Jones or like conspiracies on our new podcast description for this one. We can
we could put him in there with a room full of gay frogs too. But anyways, that's our show. We will be live every Sunday from 7 p.m. Eastern time, which is 7 p.m. Central time. Time zones are a thing. 7 p.m. Central time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time, and live every Sunday. If you wanted to catch more of us, you're more than welcome to. I stream, Jake streams, I tweet, Jake tweets. Jake, where can they catch you on Twitter?
Yeah, you stream, I stream, we all stream for Twitch. Yeah. And they can catch me right here. You can see it above me. It's at Gonzo Gone Live. You can find me there on Twitch and the Twitterverse. I tweet funny memes and I stream Halo 3. So come and join us.
Yep. And you can find me at Rusebane, WRUSE_BANE on Twitch and Twitter. Streaming mostly Pokemon. I'm going to be streaming more Ghost of Tsushima. Hopefully going to get some more playthrough on that. I want to have a big shout out to our producer, Cape, for running all the visuals on our show. Yay. And big shout out to Brahman, our moderator in chat and host in chat as well. Doing all the things there. And you guys are doing great. Stick around. We're going to have more Geek Life coming back to you next week. So don't stick around, as in we'll see you back then there.
Yeah. We'll see you next week.
We will see you next week, and it's going to be awesome. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, peace, guys.